Let me tell y'all about the most scariest shit I have ever seen in my entire life. So it happened last year around this time, right? I was door dashing, doing my usuals. At this time, I was at a very low period in my life, just trying to figure it all out. So, I'm riding around trying to make some money. So typically when I do my DoorDash, I go in the suburban areas because that's where the tips are really good and I just have a better experience and feel a little safer, right? Pulled up in the suburban neighborhood and I came up to the house that I was going to deliver at. When I got to the house, I was just looking at it before I got out. I was like, man, this house is so freaking big and so pretty. When you first walk up, there's like a long pathway, there's flowers, there's like bird baths. Now, when I walked up to the house, y'all, it's a castle, okay? It's gorgeous. In the front, you have like the two big doors, two big brown doors. You have two windows, one on each side in the front. Now, the way they're made is like oval shaped. So it's like from the very top to the bottom. Like it's a long window. And it was no blinds. It was just straight open. So, bitch, I set the food down on the doorstep, right? When I set the food down, I went through the app. You have to select some stuff and then you get ready to take a picture. So I do that. Now, when I took the picture, I was trying to make sure that the door frame or the door area was in it so that way they can see that I dropped it off at the front door. So I had to kind of take a step back a little bit to take the picture. So once I did that and took the picture, some said, look up, bitch. When I looked up, y'all, bitch, there was a fucking woman in the window on the left side. She went there before. Because remember, I walked up. There was nobody in the window. She was in the window. I could see the top of this lady's head to the bottom of her feet. This lady had nothing on. From head to toe, she was bare. Nothing on. She was an older white woman, right? She had red ginger hair, light blue eyes, and she was real small. And she was super tall. I have never in my life seen no shit like that. I wouldn't even get on here and cat with y'all. I ain't never in my life seen nobody so fucking tall like that. And her skin was so pale. Man, when I tell y'all, my soul immediately left my body. I could feel it. I could really feel, like, you ever been so fucking scared that you feel like you have fucking left and your body ain't caught up yet? That's how scared I fucking was. I remember pulling off. I had my friend connected to the Bluetooth speaker, so her loud ass mouth coming out the car. And I'm pulling off and I'm telling her about the lady, and the lady is still in the fucking window, ain't moved. Ain't moved. I end up leaving, so my friend was like, go and see like if that food's still there. Bitch, how about I took my motherfucking ass back and rolled by there. The food was gone, but the lady was still there. What the fuck?
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about that moment?
One of the scariest things that ever happened to me happened while I was in college at UC Davis. I was working at Abercrombie & Fitch at Arden Fair Mall at the time when I was in college, and I was actually at the mall for a completely different reason other than work one day. My laptop had kind of shit its pants and I went to go take it in, whatever. As I was leaving, this man approached me. And as females, we're kind of used to having men approach us. It's not that big of a deal. You just say, don't bother me, and they're usually on their way. But there was something about this man's presence that had me frozen in fear. I had never, and still to this day, have never experienced anything like that before. I can't remember exactly what he said. It was nothing threatening, nothing super intimidating. I think he was just like, oh, what's your name? Like, why are you here? Something like that. But for some reason, something had just a pit in my stomach just being in this man's presence, and I gunned it into the nearest store by the exit, and I called my dad immediately and I said, there's a man that has approached me. There's something about him that's not right. I just need you to be on the phone with me until I can get to my car. I get into my car, lock the door, get home, forget all about it. Then 2 weeks later, I am working a shift at Abercrombie on a completely different day, completely different time. This time it's a closing time, and I am leaving the store ready to go home. There's really no one in the mall, and I'm leaving the store, and in the distance I see a man sitting on a bench When I get close enough to realize who it is, it's too late. He's already making eye contact with me, and it's the same man that gave me that horrible pit in my stomach a few weeks prior. This scared me so badly for a few reasons. One, there was no one there. There was no one in this mall, really, besides like the few employees that were probably still closing up their stores, but there was like literally no one in this mall. It was empty. There's no reason why he should have been sitting there. And it just seemed like he was sitting there waiting for me. And that scared me because how did he know where I worked? How did he know I was going to be there at that time? And why is he sitting here waiting for me? What are his intentions? After this, things get even scarier than I could have imagined. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to do a part 2 and explain that.
I'm about to tell y'all a story that I listened to about 3 days ago, and it has not left my mind. And of course, it happened in Mexico. So there was a truck driver who had a partner. You know, sometimes there's 2 people in a truck. They take turns while one is sleeping, one drives, the other one gets tired, the other one drives, and this one goes to sleep. Why did I overcomplicate that? Anyway, they were both on the road, and the truck, something messed up to make them have to park on the side of the road. Mind you, this was in the middle of nowhere. They also realized that they had no signal on their phones and nobody in the radio was responding to them. So the guy who had been at the back sleeping volunteered to walk and see if there's anything up the hill, because at this point they were trying to go up a hill to go forward. He tells the guy that was driving to stay put in case anybody passed by or maybe a cop or anybody that can help them out. They both agreed. The guy went on his way and the driver stayed in the truck. So as the guy who stayed in the truck is waiting, he starts to feel something very eerie. Like, okay, fine, he's in the middle of nowhere, but like, why does he feel this sensation like he's being watched? It was also in that moment where he starts to hear almost like if something is scratching the passenger side of that truck. He wasn't thinking it was anything paranormal or like scary like that, but obviously he's like, well, what if it's an animal? What kind of animal is it? Should I be concerned? So what he did is he kind of went to the passenger seat, looked at the mirror because he figured he could see what was down there, and what he thinks he sees is an old lady. However, the weirdest thing is he thinks that he sees this old lady hunched over, hiding next to the passenger door, which would be crazy because if you know trucks, they're tall. So for her to be standing and hunched over would mean that she would have to be an extremely tall old lady. The only way that he can explain what happened next was that he almost went into some sort of a trance, because he says that he could swear that this lady was calling him by his name. He remembers closing his eyes because he didn't want to look at that lady. Something in him was telling him that this lady was up to no good. They were in the middle of nowhere, and why would there be an old lady out here? Not only that, but she knew his name. So as he has his eyes closed, swearing that this lady's calling his name and doesn't want to look at her, he starts to hear somebody honking, and he's like, oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's, you know, his partner. So he opens his eyes, and no, he sees another truck driver passing by him like full speed, but honking the horn really, really fast and loud. However, that truck driver did not stop. He kept going. So obviously now he knows this truck driver was not helping them, but why were they honking? He's thinking maybe my partner got in contact with somebody, but why didn't they stop? So since they didn't stop, he again closed his eyes and just prayed and prayed and prayed, because obviously he still heard somebody calling his name. So he says that he has no idea how long he sat there with his eyes closed and just praying until somebody knocking on his window interrupted that. And thankfully it was his partner. And by this point, the driver got out of the truck, hugged his partner, and just started crying and crying and crying. After hugging his partner and he's still crying, he sees that his partner brought this guy that he knew that also fixes trucks, and he went and hugged him too and started crying, and they were both like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So he tells them, he's like, I swear there was an old lady. I think she was really tall because I saw her, she was calling my name. And they were both looking at each other like, I didn't see an old lady, like there's nobody there. Why don't you get in the other truck and let's just go? Like they were gonna go and fix this in the morning. I forgot to mention this was like at 3 or 4 in the morning. My bad, pimp. So their plan was to just drive ahead where there was like this restaurant that a lot of truck drivers stopped at until the daylight came back, and they would go back to the truck and fix it. They get to this restaurant and they recognized a lot of these truck drivers that were there, and one of the guy was like, what is wrong with you? Because at this point, the guy, the driver, the one who saw that old lady, he was so pale and still scared out of his mind at what he had seen. However, he did not hold back. He told every truck driver that was at that restaurant exactly what he saw on the side of the road, and for some weird reason, they all stayed very silent. The guy who had originally asked him what was wrong because he was pale told him, you know, someone just stopped and told us something weird. This guy tells them that about an hour ago, a truck driver had stopped at that restaurant. He was also very pale and scared, and when he asked them what was wrong, the guy told them the following. I just got chills. This guy tells them that when he was in his truck driving downhill, because again, the other truck was over here stuck going uphill, that he could have sworn that he saw an old lady, a very tall old lady with goat feet standing up on the side of a trailer. He explains that he was honking and honking because he was scared that the guy in the trailer was asleep and that this old lady with goat feet was going to attack him. And remember, the guy did have his eyes closed because he was scared and he was praying. So when he got really close to them, he hit the gas even though he was going downhill, and that's how he was trying to tell the guy, wake up, there was something next to the truck. However, he was too scared to stop, and that's why he ended up stopping at the restaurant that was down the road. And the reason why he stopped is because he couldn't drive anymore. He was terrified. He had to stop somewhere to like relax, to calm down. After about 30 minutes, the guy says that the guy finally calmed down and said, I have to leave. I don't even want to be in this area. I gotta go. And he went about his way. He could tell that every truck driver in that restaurant was very scared. They were all serious. Nobody was laughing. Nobody was taking it as a joke. Not only were a few of them there to witness the first guy saying that he saw the lady, but then the guy who saw the lady and was not asleep, was actually praying, comes in and like really confirms the story that the first guy said. He said that all the guys took it very seriously, and a lot of them agreed that they would not be stopping there even if they were tired, not even to rest. They would try to get as far away from that area as possible. That shit is so scary. Can you imagine? I cannot. Imagine if he didn't even have a partner though.
You cannot tell me that this man isn't haunted for the rest of his life. A couple weeks ago, I posted this video where I talked about the commercials that played as Chris Watts was being questioned by police. I talked about how I believe that Shanann was sort of speaking from beyond, if you will. I don't believe in coincidence, right? I think this was Shanann's way of making sure there would be justice for what this man had done to her and her babies. The comments on this video were flooded by people telling me other insane coincidences about this whole case. One of them being that Shanann and Chris had plans of naming their new baby Nico, because remember, Shanann was pregnant with their third child. They wanted to name the baby Nico Lee, and Chris's mistress's name was Nicole. I mean, Chris himself has claimed that he's haunted by his family, and their previous home, which has been sold since the murders, is said to be haunted as well. In the police body cam footage, when they have a scent dog in there searching for Shanann and the girls, the police officer and the dog handler are both spooked by the sound of giggling as they enter the closet. They're asking each other, like, you heard that, right? And the police officer notes that it kind of sounds like a children's toy. So the dog handler asks her to go into the closet and step on something to see if that's what made the sound, but they can't seem to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. What in the world was that? Wow. Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came from.
Yeah, it sounded like a kid toy.
It sort of sounded like it.
Something. I heard it.
Did you hear it?
I did.
Sounded like a kid giggling or something, didn't it? Or a kid.
It did.
Where did that come from? Because all he did was go straight in there. That was strange, but we'll make a note of that.
I heard it.
Toy or not, this definitely seems to have shaken them up. As they move on throughout the house, people are quick to point out whispers that can be heard. In this clip, you can very clearly hear the whispering voice say, "I'm with Cece." Cece was the nickname for Shanann's daughter Celeste. Then as they enter the master bedroom, you can hear the voice say, "This is our home." What do you guys think of this? Is the Watts family home actually haunted? Can this be explained? Let me know in the comments.
Spooky story time. A follower named Lana sent me the story, and we're gonna call it the Faust Hotel. Lana says that a few years ago she stayed at the Faust Hotel in New Braunfels for a work trip. And she says that immediately as soon as she walked into that room, she felt like this ugly, uneasy vibe. The very first night, she noticed that the lights were flickering, not all at the same time. Like out of nowhere, one would turn on and then the other one, and it was just like very weird. And she said that the curtains felt like there was someone standing behind there, just kind of like peeking over at her. She said that that first night she was so scared that she literally started crying because she was like, what the hell is going on? Second night, same thing. The lights were flickering, whatever. She said that she gets out of the shower, gets ready for bed, combs her hair, does her whole skincare routine. She lays down and she feels like someone sits right next to her on the bed, and she says that she feels the mattress like indent, like weight. No thank you. She obviously knew that this place was haunted, and on the last day, as she's about to walk out to leave, she says, hey, this is a very beautiful hotel. Thank you for letting me stay here. And she says this out loud. And then the lights start flickering. And she says that the reason why she was like scared, obviously lights flickering is scary enough, but she says that these were lamps. So each lamp had a separate switch. So she was like, what's going on? She talked to her coworkers about it, and she says that a few ended up staying together in one room, and another coworker would call her husband immediately as soon as she walked into that room, and they would stay on the phone for the rest of the day there, all night, because of how scared she was. The Faust Hotel has been temporarily closed since 2023 due to renovations. Baby, we're in 2025. It has not opened, but now that I know that it might be a little haunted, if it does open, I kind of want to stay there. Has anyone stayed at that hotel and maybe witnessed something? Let me know. And if you guys have any other stories that you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them. And I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye.
Spooky story time. A follower named Chanel sent me the story all the way from Trinidad, and we're gonna call it The Boy. Chanel says that this happened a few years ago, but she was working as a bartender. She worked the night shift, but she would normally be home at about 3 a.m. She says that her mom and her 3-year-old little brother were visiting from the United States in Trinidad, so she gave them her bedroom. She says that in her culture, they say that if you get home past midnight, to enter your home walking backwards. That way, if there's anything negative or anything evil, it won't follow you inside. She says that this specific night, she failed to do that because she was so tired, so she just went right inside. So she went right on inside, took a shower, called her boyfriend, got comfortable, lay down to get ready for bed, and she closes her eyes to start praying. In that moment, she hears her little brother crying. She opens her eyes, she sits up, and she sees him standing at the foot of her mattress. She calls out to him. He stops crying, and then he slowly starts walking backwards, like walking away from her. She gets up, starts talking to him, starts walking towards him, trying to calm him down, like, hey baby, are you okay? Whatever. He stops crying, and in that moment, she hears her mom say, Chanel, who are you talking to? She turns around and yells, I'm talking to Nicholas, Mom. He was standing right here by my bed and he was crying. And then Mom says, what are you talking about? He's asleep right next to me. Chanel turns around to look at that little boy, and he literally is backing away, and he walks through the closed bedroom door. Hell nah. She says that this was the one and only time that she saw anything like this. She's obviously seen and witnessed some paranormals, some spirits and shit, but nothing like this. Do you think it's because she didn't walk inside her home backwards? What do you guys think? Thank you so much to Chanel for sending me this spooky story. If you guys have any other stories that you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them. And I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
I know you think I'm about to tell you to get a snack, but I'm gonna tell you to go eat those leftovers before they go to waste. Because y'all know, y'all gonna eat them for a couple days and get tired of them. Anyways, for this story, let's call this girl Bianca. If you know Bianca, tag them. Now, Bianca went to a university hostel. After COVID, the university started having renovations. So with having the renovations, they had very limited space for the returning students. And so Bianca ended up having to share her room with like 7 other girls, including her sister. Despite how tight it was, they made it work. Life was normal. So they had this mutual guy, right? The guy told them that his little sister will be joining the hostel. She's a freshman. And so when his sister finally came, he introduced everybody to his sister. She was very bubbly and she was very eager to settle in with them. So they kind of took her under their wing, all 7 sisters. Not sisters, but y'all get it. They took her under their wing so much so that she ended up actually moving into their room. So now there were 8 of them. They showed her around the school. They told her all the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of the hostel. In a short time, she kind of became family. So one day she comes up to them and she says, "Hey guys, my mom is coming to visit." So everybody's excited to meet her mom. Her mom comes. She was like this very nice middle-aged woman, and she brought food for them when she came. They, of course, welcomed her with open hands. Everybody's happy to meet her mom. Everybody's laughing. They shared the meal that she brought for them. It was a great day. It was great. It went great. Or so they think. Everything seemed normal. They ate. They had a good time. And when it was time for them to go to bed, they went to bed. Also, Bianca ended up telling the new girl, let's call her Sarah. So if you know a Sarah, tag her. Bianca ended up sharing a bed with Sarah because, like I said, they were very limited with space. So that night before they went to bed, they went with their nightly routines. Except they didn't really pray together that night because of all the chaos from earlier. There were a couple of arguments, but all in all, it was a normal night. Some prayed by themselves, some didn't pray at all, and everybody just went to sleep. And then exactly at 3 a.m. on the dot, chaos erupted. First of all, Bianca woke up to somebody tugging on her leg and dragging her, pulling her, trying to pull her off the bed. The grab was so strong that when she woke up out her sleep, she still saw the mark on her leg. So immediately she screams, only for her to realize that she wasn't the only one. She started looking around and all of the other girls are like shrieking and panicking. One girl's finger was broken. Another girl said she was having a nightmare of being chased by a snake in her dream. If you know, you know. And the others are swearing up and down that there was a group of people standing by their door wearing black cloaks. So everybody's freaking out. So she goes to check on the girl that was sleeping beside her, the new girl, Sarah. But Sarah wasn't there. She's looking at the bed. She's feeling, but Sarah's not there. And so she screams. She's like, oh my God, where's Sarah? And so somebody turned on the light, only for her to see Sarah right next to her. So when it was dark, she couldn't see Sarah. But the moment the light came on, Sarah was right there. And not only was she right there, but she was the only one still laying down, still asleep. Like nothing's happening. Nothing's bothering her. She ain't having no issues. And so the fact that Sarah was so calm sent shivers down Bianca's spine. So immediately, all the girls started praying, and a lot of them start calling their parents. And in the midst of all that happening, Bianca happened to look at Sarah again on the bed, and she could have sworn that Sarah was grinning, like a cold grin. She dismissed it because she was terrified, and there was a lot of chaos going around. Anyway, so fast forward to the next day. Sarah comes up to all the girls and tell them that her mom that came yesterday wasn't actually her mom. That lady was her prophet. And she tells the girls the reason why she wasn't like really scared was because this happened to her before at her previous boarding school. And when this started to happen to the girls, she ended up calling her prophet to pray for them. And after that situation, it's safe to say that everybody felt off about Sarah. And whenever Sarah's mom came around, they knew not to eat from her. And funny enough, her prophet, she was still friendly. She was still acting like nothing ever happened, and so was Sarah. And everything just like went back to normal, but they can never forget that night. If you aren't already, make sure you're following me on Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube, especially if they're about to take this app away. All right? All right.
No, because why are my braids so skinny? And I'm not. If they weren't in front of me, I bet you they would disappear with the green screen. Get distracted by the pizzas. So this girl says that this story has been told to her by her mom several times, and this happened when she was 3 years old. She says that one day her mom needed to go to the little store that was right across from their home, and being that she was calm and playing with some toys and that her older sibling was asleep, she decided to leave her there and just go straight to the store and come back. However, when her mom came back to the house, she found her crying and very, very pale. And because she was 3 and started talking already, she asked her what was wrong. Her mom says that that in between her crying, she would point at the window and say, "Clown, clown." The mom explains to her that she got very scared because they lived on the second floor and the window didn't have like a balcony for somebody to be there. She attempted to console her and just calm her down because she did notice that her child was so scared. The next day, she needed to go to that little store again, but because of what happened, she decided to take both of her daughters with her. When she went to the store, obviously that lady that works there noticed that she had brought her kids with her and was like, "Oh, you just came with the kids really quickly." And her mom started to explain to the lady what had happened and why she's deciding to bring the kids with her now. Her mom says that when she told the lady what had happened, the lady got very serious and told her that she didn't want to tell her what happened in that land, but before they built those apartments, there was a really big tall tree, and that unfortunately somebody had taken their own life on that tree. The mom got really scared and she even told her husband when he got home from work what had happened on that land and what the daughter claims to have seen on that window. After talking it through for a little bit, they decided that they were going to move away from that place because they believed that it could be haunted. Now that she's older, she says that she doesn't remember a clown, but she is very curious and wants to know what is the correlation between the clown and like the haunted land. Now she says that her parents never wanted to look into it at all, so she has to live with the fact that she will never know what happened or why she saw a clown. Can you imagine a freaking haunting and it's a clown? Like, it's not even just like a regular person. No thank you.